Hey everybody, this is David of Single Dad, Why You Mad? So what you're about to hear is 24 Hours to Unpack, which is our follow-up discussion to the IG live feed that happened on August 7th of 2020. And in attendance is Ellen of Ellen the Great podcast and Clark and myself. And we discussed our feelings going into the IG live feed and how we feel coming out of it. We are positive you will enjoy it. Single Dad, Why You Mad?
Single dad, why you mad? Single dad, why you mad?
Single dad.
Why are you mad?
Single dad.
Why you mad? Single dad, why you mad? Single dad, why you mad?
Single dad, why you mad?
Is the noise from the AC distracting?
No, that's good.
All right, perfect.
All right.
So
Clark, why don't we start
Yeah.
with you? So your initial reaction when you first heard the episode, and I'm not talking about, I want to give listeners, I want to give listeners, like our initial feeds, because everybody has feelings. Everybody has opinions, right?
right.
And Ellen and I talked a little bit, so I already knew what her feeling or her opinion was. So we want to talk about heartfelt feelings here. What was your
Right.
heartfelt feeling when you were talking to her? And I'm talking about stuff in episode 1.
So the heartfelt feelings, and I think for me, it carries through episode 1 into or the first half into the second half, because it was absolutely going into it. You hear me say a lot whenever we have guests on, they start talking about their relationships, right? Because that's what most people come on to talk about, their relationships and their interactions and co-parenting. And my initial feeling was, okay, I've heard this story or portions of this story from David's perspective. Let me be open, receptive, and encouraging to hear the other's part, because we always talk about, there's his story, her story, and the truth lies somewhere in between. And it was like, okay, let's go, let's open up. And I want to say, like, pretty early on, it was like, oh shit, so this is where we go with it. And like when we record in general, I know you more so than me, like, try to be mindful of time, right? You try to be like, okay, we've been at this for a while. Whereas, like, I felt like she had so much to say and so much to unpack that I would ask questions and I just let her run. And sometimes I try to steer her back to the point at hand and keeping in line with the conversation. But from an emotional standpoint, I guess to really answer your question from my perspective, it was like, it was a bit of surprise, like how deep of a dive she was going into with the stuff that went down with you guys.
All right, so the only thing I'm trying to do here, though, Clark, where I think we're missing the mark is, and okay, and when Ellen and I first talked, right?
Yeah.
I asked her, Ellen, now that you've heard Habiba's thing, because Ellen, what episode did you just do on your own podcast? That was the dude from Go Africa or whatever else it is that was charged with, or Essence Magazine.
Oh, at the time, yes, abuse of power with the
Abuse of power, yeah. So I said, Ellen, is that, after listening to her episode, how you feel about me? That's the level that I want to take this conversation to right now, Clark, right? And she said, okay, let me think about it. And then she texted me back later and she said, okay, yeah. After listening to her view, I can say that I feel like, Ellen, don't let me put words in your mouth. Speak for yourself.
I said that I can see you coming across as a man who's using his power as a man who has the means to kind of put control on her, or to come across like you want to dominate her or the narrative. And it was a little triggering for me. And I know you and we got into it, the more you forced me to be honest and open up. I will be honest. When I first heard it, I struggled because I've known you for 20 years, right? So I know what I know of you, and I feel like I know you pretty well. You've always been yourself with me. And then here is Habiba speaking her truth, and her truth was a little triggering for me because I was projecting my own shit.
Tell me
But
what you mean
now,
when you say triggering for you.
well, because of a previous relationship, he was.
And I'm sorry, and I don't want to shine your shoes right now, Ellen, but you look fucking amazing.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't want to shine her shoe, but I've known, doesn't she, like, when you're looking at, and you look at the apartment in the background, or and the lights and everything in her glasses, you look amazing. But I'm sorry.
Yeah. She's absolutely put together for this.
Yes.
Not that you're not in general, but you, like, you know, by comparison to the two scruffy motherfuckers that you're having a conversation with right now, you're looking good, yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So going back to the past relationship, you know, dealing with somebody who was abrasive and aggressive in his delivery, I saw some correlation there between him and Dave. So there were moments when Habiba was talking throughout part 1 and part 2 that I felt a little bit of connection with her, especially as she got emotional. I connected to that. And so the struggle for me was, damn, am I connecting with her because of what I've been through, or is it because now I'm looking at one of my best friends a little crazy?
Right.
And that's something I had to kind of unpack personally and with Dave for a while. So yeah, that was weird for me at the beginning, hearing somebody I don't know, you know, basically drag his name through the mud. That was hard for me. Because I was like, well, could he be that way? Or is it just her being emotional and just speaking from an emotional space?
Right. So if that's the question we're asking, because that's not what I got from the initial question. So what was my takeaway emotionally from what she said about you? So if that's the question, I'll tell you, like, in listening to her describe things, like, and I've had a lot of occasion to be in the middle of two parties as they're having a dispute, you know, both professionally and just, you know, during the course of my life, people tend to seek me out for that kind of thing. And one of the things that generally happens, well, not generally, but sometimes happens, is somebody will provide an instance or an example of the third party's behavior. And you go, well, that doesn't quite sound right. Or that doesn't sound like them. Nah, that's not him. But as she's telling the story, as she's sharing details, like, as I'm listening, I didn't get that. I got, oh shit, this is like David, but nth degree David. Because you are overt and you don't pull punches, and you do tend to be kind of short and curt with people, you know. And you know, part of that is, you know, she described it. She said part of that is your charm. Right? So it's like taking those personality traits and those powers, as it were, and using them for evil, right? And you could see where that power could completely be co-opted and turned to that direction. So as she's saying this shit, I'm sitting there listening going, oh shit, like, did he say that? Or did he behave in that way? Or, you know, was he that, you know, short and crass and curt with her? And yeah, it absolutely entered my mind in that way.
Okay. All right. So I'm really just trying to get to a point when I ask those sort of questions of, like, being transparent with each other, right? Ellen, you ain't going nowhere. Clark and I have been, you know, working together for a year. I don't think either one of us is going anywhere. You know, I don't want to speak for him. You know,
I'm done. This is a wrap.
But, you know, I like genuine friendships, right? I enjoy genuine friendships. Even if it's somebody, you know, that I'm working with, I want to genuinely work with that person. And, you know, I want to be honest about how I feel about them and how they feel about me. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that transparency and vulnerability leads to trust. And then trust leads to great working relationships and great friendships. And I think without that, It just doesn't exist. Like we'll never get there, right? So that's why I asked. Okay, so now, and let me be on. Okay, so why don't I be honest also, right? So when Ellen, you first came to me and said to me, David, you don't want this to air. This is something that paints you in a bad light. And when I asked you that question and you said yes, I could see how this could be whatever else it is, without mentioning what was triggering for you, right? The answer was, just yes. I said to myself, but my nigga, I've known you and I said this to you already, right? So I'm not saying something to you that you don't already know. I said, but my nigga, I've known you for 20-something years. Nobody could come to me and tell me that Ellen punched them in the fucking mouth without me saying to them, well, what the fuck did you do to cause her to punch you in the mouth? So do I think Ellen is the type of person to punch somebody in the mouth? Yes. But I think that she would have good reason. And that's the part that I had a problem with, right? That, my personality can be, I'm going to use Clark's words, short and curt and, abrasive. But, I would expect that, my friend knows me well enough to say, yeah, I know David like that, but I've never seen him just do it to a stranger on the street for no reason whatsoever. That's what I was hoping that I would get from you. And when I didn't, I told you that, this bothers me. Like, I was hurt by that. And I'm just, sort of looking for your reaction to that right now, Ellen.
I mean, I don't know if you remember my response to that, which was the same over and over again. Keep in mind that I'm coming from a place where I'm bringing some old baggage into this, right? So it wasn't solely based on everything she was saying. It was me recognizing her emotions or her being triggered from, something you said or how you said something and connecting to that feeling. And so because I'm connecting to that feeling, now I'm kind of projecting the anger I have towards my ex towards you. Is that right? No, that doesn't justify it, but that's where I was coming from. At no point did I, say to myself or think,
I can't be friends with that nigga no more.
At no point was I like, oh, well, this changes our dynamic, or, I can't be, transparent with him about how I feel. That was me being transparent, telling you what it was, but it didn't change my perspective of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Clark, you want to add something, anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think Ella's point is exactly right. It's, you and just coining the phrases that I tend to coin is, perception breeds reality. So in Ellen's case, it's not just a perception of what Habiba had said during the interview. It's, the reality that she lived being on the receiving end of that kind of behavior, and then it's her having to do the self-analysis and the dissection to say, that's not my situation, that's their situation. And from what I know of David, what leads to that? And I'm not sure how much of it came up in the first half, but absolutely in the second half, during the conversation, I was like, okay, let's bring it back to square one. Let's bring it back to topic at hand and go, okay, this happened, but what was your part in it? Right? Because that's the other thing that, like we talked a little bit about it on the live, when somebody brought up a point last night, but it's something that comes up on our show a fair amount, and it's the idea of accountability. Like in a relationship, it's very rare one person is the bad guy. Right? It's very rare that one person is at fault for everything that goes wrong in the relationship. It takes two, and I said it, verbatim during the episode, it takes two to tango. And that was one of the things that I was trying to draw out, like, okay, what was the part you played in this situation?
And I heard that, or Ellen told me that, or my friend Rachel told me that, because she's heard it also over and over again. You kept asking that question. Yes.
Right. And frankly, I don't know that I got a straight answer to that. I don't know that was addressed. I would love to have the conversation again or go deeper and cover some of that stuff. But as far as like the going back to the emotional piece, like at that there was no point where I was like, oh shit, the show was over. oh shit, I am never talking to this dude again. Like that didn't happen. It was absolutely when I was done recording it and letting a little bit of the cat out the bag, she came to me and was like, I don't know if we should air this. And I told her, sleep on it. Let me know what you want to do. Because I initially gave her the option of us editing out certain things that she didn't feel comfortable with sharing, or her coming back another time and us redoing the episode. But I think we got candid, raw emotion. Absolutely her perception of where you guys are and the things that led you to that point. And I got to commend her for saying, hey, let's rock with it.
Ellen, that's how you feel?
I'm having trouble with the word commend, only because after listening to it over and over and over again, she dug herself in a really deep fucking hole, whether she knows it or not, right? Because she starts the episode with, my goal is to foster, bridge, make amends. And like I said in last night's live, and then she drags you for filth, right? And then she'll catch herself in certain parts and say, well, that's not the goal, and then continue dragging you for filth. So what I got from that was her intention to come on was not to foster anything, right? It was to share her perspective, only her side, which is just slinging mud at you the entire time. And I don't think she realizes how that painted her out to be. How do you say all that bullshit and at the end you say what you say, like, oh, I want to have a kid with him again? What the fuck? I'm confused. So that threw me. That threw me, and then I started to realize, like, oh, wait a minute. So maybe this isn't what she's painting it to be.
But I think there is absolutely a lot of raw emotion between the two of you, right? Because both of you throw that out as what you want the goal to be. Like you want to be able to communicate. You want to be able to be, in a healthy space. I don't think either one of you wants to be sitting there and having to deal with negative emotions and unsuccessful communication with your co-parent. I don't think that's the goal for either one of you ultimately. But I think Habiba's episodes and even the interaction on the live last night proved there's a lot of the raw emotion that clouds the ability to communicate for the two of you. Like it was absolutely obvious that it was triggering for her to be there and for her to be giving her commentary. And every time, like on the live last night, and every time you said something, she had to comment. She had to say, she had to give her 2 cents, and she had to be heard. And I mean, it's an open forum. That's her right to do so. And every time she did so, you could see in your face, you were like on wit's end dealing with her. And that's a very familiar space for me to be in. Like I absolutely lived that. Like there were times where, I'd be like, yo, she's still fucking talking. Or I want to get along with her and I want to raise these kids and I want to make shit right. But I can't stand being in the same room with her. Or the sound of her voice is grating, or whatever it is at that moment, And that's very much on the surface for you and Habiba right now. That I think the episode and then the live further cemented it for me. Like, y'all got a lot of anger at each other and a lot of disappointment and a lot of hurt. And frankly, I think a lot of sadness because of each other.
The difference for me between the two is that Dave has taken accountability. Dave has been forthcoming with his shortcomings, right? Even after I finished editing and I made that phone call and I said, yo, dude, this is bad. And the fact that he was just like, yo, just go forth. I don't really give a shit. Says a lot. So in last night's live, he talked a lot about the receipts that he has. Now, this man has probably had these receipts for God knows how long. He could have at any point blasted her to the nth degree, but hasn't. But what he does blast off is, yes, I have a temper. Yes, I am aggressive. Yes, I say shit that I probably shouldn't say. And again, at no point did Habiba take like honest and deep accountability. So I get his frustration. I get his anger. And last night's live was an eye opener for me towards the end when he talked about the whole Monday school and the pajamas thing. I think everyone on that live was like, oh shit, that was a turning point. Because I got a bunch of text messages like, oh wow, my opinion just flipped just like that. Right? And so there's this whole other side that we don't know. And of course, she's never going to talk about because she fucking looks crazy.
So I did notice, Ellen, that something in your questioning or responses changed when you asked the question, how do you get to a cohesive co-parenting relationship? And I said, get my kid to school on time. Don't bring him to school and daycare in fucking pajamas. Get him to bed on time, feed him. And I did notice that there was a shift in, the tone, right? I did notice that. And to focus, and I think to continually focus on, how we met and how we got together. Okay, so Clark, here's a bone I want to pick with you. I'm going to be honest, right? I'm going to pick a bone with you. Okay.
Go for it.
You were backing me in the corner to ask me about whether the date was magical. And that's absolutely what you should do. That is absolutely what you should do. You should be asking the tough questions, right? And I remember when you asked, I just went back like this, right? And I was quiet, right? And y'all don't know that that's my answer, right? And what I was trying not to...
I absolutely knew that was your answer, but that's not articulating it for the people who are watching.
That's fine. I'm not taking that away from you. You were right to press, right? But the reason I was holding on to that answer is because I didn't want to embarrass her. She done gone out there and said it was fucking magical. And I didn't want to embarrass her. Ellen, you're shaking your head.
And I say like this, David, like you can answer the question without embarrassing her. You can say, I didn't feel it was magical, but I had a good time. Or, you know what? We were out and about and,
that would be organic though. That's not honest.
Right. But it's absolutely honest if you spell it out. You can spell out how you felt without it being embarrassing. Like you can say, you know what? I didn't feel like that date was magical.
I didn't feel like any. Okay, all right. So you're trying to tell me how to answer, and I'm telling you, my answer was it was not magical for me.
And that's what we ultimately came to.
Yes. Hold on. So then after I said that, after you finally got me to say it, you went, wow. And I felt judged. So let's give Ellen a chance though, because she was shaking her head. Go ahead, Ellen.
Listen, you can't have a live and want people to ask questions, and when questions are asked, you got a problem with how they're being asked or what's being asked. The question was, after listening to her perspective, is there anything that you think about differently? And the one thing from the 45 minutes that woman spoke that you could gather was the magical bullshit. There was so much other meaty content for you to pick from, but you chose magical, right? And so you can't say magical and not expect us to pounce on that, because we're trying to figure out, especially when you respond the way that you do, when you kind of lean back, it leaves it open to so much interpretation, and we're going to dig.
Right.
You got to give us more than just
a lean back. Right. I mean, like, if you look at the comments that were asked or the comments that came when the question was posed, it was like, damn, why can't he give a straight answer? Like,
and I'm telling you because I felt like my answer would embarrass her.
You're right, and I like I get that.
And God bless you for that. God bless you.
Because at this,
What are you saying, Ellen?
I said, God bless you for that, considering she's embarrassed the shit out of you. You don't give a shit, but she did it for 2 hours. So the fact that you can't express how you really feel about that first date blows my mind.
Yeah, I like, and even if you think in the context of what you guys have shared about the relationship on either side, like you've gone a lot deeper about a lot of different things. I don't know why saying that and this isn't a judgment, it's just, my mind and my gears turning. Why suppressing your reaction about that first date was such a triggering thing for you? Like the idea that like, you can talk about your frustrations with her as a co-parent. You can talk about your frustrations with her as somebody you lived with, as, a partner in a lot of ways. But that date, which she referred to as something important and special to her, you didn't want to take that away from her or present her in a bad way.
Think about it like this. Ellen, you can probably relate here. Guy says, yeah, man, the first time we fucking had sex, man, that shit was crazy, man. I was killing that shit, man. I was crazy. And you say, Ellen, how was it for you? And you say, you just done fucking killed this nigga. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
That's where I was coming from, because I know for that, in the way I heard it, it was important to her, really, and that had nothing to do with the facts of co-parenting. But we only got so much time, right? So I want to move on. And Clark, this is going to be tough on you, baby. So, get ready, all right?
Go for it.
Okay. Ellen, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the tape, right? But I clearly heard Nina in the room.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. So I was at Nina's house when I was recording. Yes.
It has to be quiet on the set moving forward.
Hold on, Ellen. You gonna let him off the hook like that?
Listen, I was hoping you would jump in.
Okay.
Can I jump in?
Now, hold on. Now, this is Clark, though, but this is how Clark operates, right?
Go ahead.
I'm being brash. Well, get ready for it, because this is how Clark operates. He just finished telling me you can't give no fucking one-word answer, and then what does he do? Yes, I was at Nina's house while I was recording. Fucking bullshit, dude.
Because
bullshit.
That's not bullshit, because I know you have a follow-up question, David.
That's not what you said to me, though. You said to me, you got to expound and unpack and deconstruct.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm sitting in the middle.
So why were you telling me that? So when we were getting backfeed, the backfeed was from Nina's phone.
That was from Nina's phone.
And I saw you go like this. And I'm like, yo,
he held it together. He tried to hold it together.
I did. I absolutely did.
Hold on, Clark. You asked me to ask? I'm asking. Let me ask, and then you can answer.
Ask the question.
Let me ask, and then you can answer. Where were the kids?
Absolutely, sir. The kids were there. Well,
okay.
The oldest kid was there. The youngest kids, the younger two, were in New York. So I'm in New York right now, picking up the younger two.
Okay.
And the oldest was there at the house.
Okay. The oldest is there at the house. You're over there at her house also, right?
Yes.
Okay. She comes and she says something, and you snap your fingers for her to be quiet or something like that.
Right.
Why are you telling her to be quiet? Why not just bring her on camera and we can hold on, let me ask the question, Clark.
Ask the question.
Bring her on camera and we can see this fantastic, wonderful co-parenting relationship.
Because she's being loud and providing feedback. So
tell her to hang up her phone and sit there and talk on your phone.
No, and her feedback was just about like you, and what it wasn't like contributing to the conversation. It was like, oh, his baby mama's on his. She didn't.
Right.
Beyond.
So here's what went down. Right. I was at her house because during the storm that happened this week, I've had no power, no internet, and basically I was couch surfing at her place for a couple of days. So when we did the live, she was like, oh shit, I want to jump on the live. So she promoted it on her page, and then she jumped on the live to like be able to communicate. But she's getting so caught up in the interaction between you and Habiba that she's shouting in the background. I'm like, son, like I'm on live. I can't have you making this noise. And I can't articulate, hey, can you please quiet down back there? So I'm snapping, I'm waving her down. And then she like comes running in the room like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, son, like, please, keep it quiet.
Ellen?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what to say other than I was annoyed with the noise.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
it was absolutely distracting.
So I'm going to elevate the conversation. So now I'm going to elevate the conversation, right? Ellen's being nice, right? I'm going to elevate the conversation. Clark, it looked like you was hiding the fact that you were at her house.
His game face was so tight.
Why are you hiding the fact that you were at her house?
Like
I'm not hiding the fact that I'm at her house, but I'm also not broadcasting it.
Why not? Y'all have a fantastic co-parenting relationship. Bring her to the screen so that everybody can see. You tell her we need to, hold on. You
go ahead.
Now, this is how I get to 10, right? Because I've been asking questions nice up until this point, and he avoiding and ditching and dodging.
Nobody's ditching and dodging. I'm saying,
you said we are at a place you guys need to get to a common space. And we are at a common space. Show us y'all at a common space and sit down there together. Why are you hiding the fact that you at her house? I'm not letting you off the hook here, Daddy.
No, there's nothing to let me off the hook with. That's not a hide. It's also not the Nina show, right? So if we're having a live addressing the episode and we're having a conversation, like I'm looking at her and she's being a distracting factor. Me being at our house is circumstantial. It's bullshit as far as I'm concerned. Because you know what? We got 3 kids together. We're at each other's houses on a regular basis. That's not news. That's not like new shit for anybody who's followed this show or who knows us.
But Clark, you sit back in the thing. I saw you snap at her and told her, whatever it is, like I'm on the phone. And
yeah, because.
And then the chat comes in and you goes, Lord, my baby mama just joined the chat. The appearance is that she was not even in the fucking space. She was in another place, another house or whatever else it was. That's the appearance that was made. That's the appearance that was given. So I'm asking you I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Right.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. Are you a single dad? We define single dads as somebody who has parents with somebody, but they are not in a relationship with that person, sexual or otherwise.
Let
me ask before you sit. Are you a single dad or are you still in a relationship with Nina? And nobody's judging you. That's fine if that's what it is. But, we need to be authentic.
So I think absolutely answering the question, and we've put this out 1,000 times, because it's come up on the show, it's come up on the podcast, it's come up in comments on our pages. We are absolutely not in a relationship. We are not seeing each other. We are not sleeping together. We don't have any of that shit going on. And I don't think that my reactions last night were in any way trying to smokescreen where I was. It was more so, stop making noise because we're trying to be live.
Ellen?
I get both of your points. I get, Dave, what you're saying. Some transparency would have been nice in terms of, I'm here, she's in the background, pardon the noise, blah, blah, blah. But I also get your point, Clark. Like, I don't know that I need to broadcast that. I'm here doing this, which is separate from that. And she just happens to be in the background.
Absolutely. Or even her joining the podcast or joining the live. Once we started recording and, we started having the conversation, she's like, I'm jumping on. And that's why I was like, oh, Lord, my baby mama is on. Right? So to your point, Ellen, like, it's 2 separate lanes. I don't know that, like even now, I'm sitting in my niece's bedroom recording. I didn't necessarily broadcast that,
This ain't the I'm sitting in my bedroom podcast. This is the Single Dad Why You Mad podcast, dude.
But
That's a false equivalency.
So it's not a false equivalency. It's giving the example of disclosure, right? Like how much disclosure needs to be made in my location. It's obviously not where I'm usually recording from. It's a different background than you're used to seeing. Anytime I record, you're used to my, fucking ugly backdrop. So you know it's different. Now, whether I disclose exactly where I am, that's fine. If we need that for the sake of keeping transparency in the show, that's fine too.
You okay with that, Dave?
Huh?
You okay with that?
So,
But I mean,
if I'm listen.
Go ahead.
Listen,
I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
I do.
What you got?
I do not believe that if the audience knew that was Nina in the background talking about he's on, that anybody would say to themselves, I think that, you know.
And I think.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well, firstly, when the audience hears this, of course, it's going to raise the question again. I think it's a question that's been raised repeatedly. When they hear us they hear the way she talked on her interview, the way I talk about our interactions. Hell, people who see us co-parent together often ask the question, oh my goodness, you guys are divorced. When are you going to get back together? You guys get along so well. And I think that's absolutely the result of a lot of hard work, a lot of, and when I go back to what I said about you and Habiba, we were in that space. And we absolutely have moments still where we are in that space. But it's been hard fought and hard work for us to get along and be able to share space with each other.
But
Now,
Clark,
granted,
Clark, there's still a difference here, right?
Right.
There's still a difference here. And the difference here is that Habiba and I have not been intimate since we broke up. Habiba and I are not in the hot tub together since we broke up.
Mel and I, or Nina and I, have not been intimate in God knows how long. And us being
Since you broke up is the question, Clark. Since you broke up is the question.
Dude, we broke up, 12 years ago, 11 years ago? There might have been a slip or two in that 12 years.
Ellen.
Yeah,
Ellen.
Hold on. And what I say to you, David, because you're bringing this up, you bring this up because this is shit I've shared already. This isn't news. This is not news. This is shit that we've talked about.
Not on the podcast.
We absolutely have. We absolutely have talked about this on the podcast.
You need to pull that out for me because I don't remember.
We have absolutely talked about it in the podcast. We have talked about the fact that talking about whether or not we would hit if the opportunity presented itself.
No. Whether or not you would and whether you actually did is two different things. And all I'm trying to say, hold
on. If we're going back, right? Because we're making this a thing. I have absolutely said that in the time since we've split, because I asked you when you were like, oh yeah, you know, I never went back. I was like, yo, you ain't hit it once? You heard the surprise in my voice when you were like, you and Habiba had not had sex since you split up, or you didn't have sex as you were leaving each other. Like, that was a shock to me.
For 6 months living in the same house before I left, we did not have sex. She tried, but I was not interested.
Right. So as we covered that, I absolutely put out that we shared a house for a year and a half during our separation, and there were absolutely times that it happened. We covered this. Like I said,
okay, Clark. I'm gonna listen back, but that was never.
Go back.
But let's not get into the conversation. Is while you're living in separate houses, and the reason I'm bringing this up, right, is because it's a whole different relationship. And Ellen, correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if you disagree. It's a whole different relationship for couples who are not intimately involved to get to a common place than it is for couples who are intimately involved to get to a common place. Ellen?
I do agree with that because there's emotions involved when there's sex going on.
I would say it's probably more difficult for couples who are intimately involved to get to a common space and try to do things separately because of the emotions involved in sexuality.
But it depends on how the relationship is as we're having sex.
I think it also depends on the people involved, right?
There are a lot of variables. There are a lot of variables.
Right. There are a lot of variables here. So I think to look at my situation and go, oh, clutch the pearls, red flag, like this is what's going on. I think it's smoke and mirrors, David. I think it's smoke and mirrors. I don't think there's anything that we haven't discussed about my situation or anything that you're questioning that hasn't been discussed before. Like, I think it's all been thrown out.
Okay, so I disagree to say that it was on the podcast, and because I edit, I'm pretty sure I would remember putting something up there where I'm saying that Clark and Nina had sex last month, last week, or 2 or 3 years ago.
No,
I'm
saying, and I didn't say within that time frame because that hasn't been the case either.
So that's what I'm asking you for then.
You said.
No, I'm asking you right now. How long has it been?
Dude, fuck, I don't know. Years.
How many years?
Shit.
4 years? 5 years?
More than that. More than that.
All right. I'm going to let you off the hook here. Ellen, would you like to close with it? Who wants to close first? Ellen? No? So, Ellen, remind everybody how we know you and why we love you.
Well, I was in the deep dive episode, and I facilitated a conversation where I was asking questions about your co-parents and the relationship. And I think that came about based on a previous episode you all did, and I had a billion questions. So I think, Dave, you said to me, well, come on and with your questions and do what you do. So I was in deep dive. What was it? There was another one that I did or was a part of.
I do not remember because it wasn't DILFs. It was your sister that participated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was
So that's my involvement with Single Dad, Why You Mad? But Dave, like we've mentioned a bunch of times, we go back from 20 plus year friendship. I also have my own podcast called Ellen the Great. And I'm also a correspondent for Black Film, which is a media outlet that promotes all things Black film, TV, and theater. Yeah, I thank you for asking me to edit this because it was a learning experience for me that I didn't know that I needed. I didn't know that I had to have, and I think that kind of opened up our friendship to a whole other level.
Yeah, I think we're moving to a new level.
We're moving to a whole other level.
Maybe that's why you look so beautiful
today.
So what was the learning?
I don't want to say you didn't look beautiful before. Let me tell you something. When I came down there in January and I walked in that room and you had that little ass skirt on and them legs was out, I said, she gonna freeze tonight, but Ellen looked good. Go ahead.
For my birthday party, yeah.
Yes.
What was my learning experience? Perception isn't everything, right? It's very easy to hear what somebody says and take that for what it is and then place that judgment on somebody else. That's not necessarily the case. I think if we take the time to read between the lines and actually listen to both parties, you can form your own opinion that's not just based on somebody's emotional state. And so that was my biggest takeaway. And also, recognizing that you've known somebody for a really long time. You know who they are and how they are. And you accept that, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with Dave being aggressive and abrasive and short and curt. It's one of the things that I love about him, right?
That has gotten us into the club when there was a long line many times.
I mean, when you came in January and we went to that club, and I remember there was a dude trying to get in our section, and you almost jumped down his throat. Right, and I remember looking at that like, yeah, that's the type of nigga I need in my life. As a friend, I appreciate that about you. So I think this kind of made me fall in love with you all over again as a friend.
I love you too.
Yeah.
Clark.
So in full disclosure, Nina drove down with me to Brooklyn to pick the kids up. So here she is. She just walked in the room. Yeah. So David was
See, so you can tell it. Now his feelings are hurt, right, Ellen? So his feelings are hurt, obviously. Right? So it's okay for him to back me in the corner. It's okay for him to back me in the corner, but I back him in the corner, and we're going to go on about this for hours.
We're not going on about it. She literally just walked in the room as I was talking about y'all. So I'm like, okay, yo, you wanted to see her on camera? She's on camera. She's right here.
Give us some closing words, Clark.
Yo, ladies, gentlemen, and consenting adults.
Well, I know, not that yet. Just, some
I thought we were wrapping up. No,
closing
words.
I want to get some final thoughts also.
My final thoughts is, I think, like, conducting that interview was it was emotionally taxing. I'm not gonna front. Like it was like, oh shit, like trying to be supportive and trying to facilitate the conversation and make her feel comfortable, but also like having to deal with your partner and friend being dragged, and also trying not to do what men are often blamed for. It's like victim blaming and stealing somebody's light as they're trying to shine, right? So that took a lot of fucking energy out of me. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like I was drained after doing that episode. I think it was a conversation that needed to be had. I think after you cut through, all of the negative bullshit, that it creates a platform for you guys to have conversation. It may not be pleasant conversation initially, but it creates a platform for conversation. And just so much to fucking unpack, man. I say this shit all the time. Just so much to unpack with this.
And Clark, I will say, after listening to that audio over and over and over again, I really loved how you gave her the space to just speak. I loved the questions that you asked, and I love that you challenged her, like how in your own special way. And I learned a lot from how you ask questions and your perspective. So I, thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Ellen. That touches my soul right in here.
So the last thing I would just like to say with a lesson that I have learned is that this person said something that resonated with me a lot, right? And my friend Rachel sent it to me. She was on the live also. This person said, the problem is, this is Dr. whatever else it is. The problem is you keep being the bigger person and fixer and you're resenting it. Not only am I resenting it, I resent her.
Was that Dr. Alexia?
Yeah, and I do a lot of that in relationships, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that's something that I need to work on, right? But if I think back when I was married, when I was 25, divorced when I was 30. One of the things that my ex-wife said about me is she says, David likes to be the only person doing the right thing. And
wait, repeat that again, David.
Repeat that because you broke up for a second.
She said, David likes to be the only person doing the right thing. Did you catch it?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm trying to figure out how that fits into, being the fixer. And for some reason, I just cannot remember what that first phrase is. Every time I think about it, the bigger person, being the bigger person and the fixer, and then resenting it. So that is what I'm going to be working on, right? Non-martyrdom, not being a martyr, not setting myself up to be a martyr. That's what I'm going to work on. And with that, we need to close. Thank you very much. Single dad, why you mad?
Single dad, why you mad? Single dad, why you mad?
Single dad, why are you mad? Single dad, why you mad?
Single dad, why you mad?
Single dad,
Why you mad?
single dad, why you mad?